Shalom. We are now in the 9 days of Av, preceding the fast of Tisha B'Av. We are here near the remainings of what is left of our holy temple, the Kotel, the Western Wall, on a special Israeli salad edition preparing for Tisha B'Av. Our sages say that when one reaches the world to come, one of the questions he will be asked is, did you every day expect and wait for the rebuilding of the Holy Temple? So although we believe that on this year, at the 9th of Av, we will be singing and dancing at the rebuilt Holy Temple, we are now in a special Israeli salad edition commemorating the Holy Temple near what is left of our Holy Temple, the Western Wall, the Kotel. Not far away from here, near the entrance to Jerusalem, is the Israel Museum. I went to visit a very special exhibition about the Holy Temple.
One of the most famous exhibitions in the Israel Museum is the Shrine of the Book display. This exhibit contains one of the greatest archaeological finds in Israel, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Excavated in the Qumran caves in the Judean desert in 1947, the scrolls are among the most ancient biblical manuscripts in the world. Although the scrolls were written by the Qumran sect who cut themselves off of the Jewish nation, much has been learned from the scrolls about the life of the nation living during the time of the Second Temple. Today, the Shrine of the Book is closed for renovations, and the museum opened a new exhibit which includes the scrolls.
The idea of presenting the Dead Sea Scrolls in a new context and a new narrative was actually the reason for this exhibition.
The exhibit is called Envisioning the Temple.
The beginning of the exhibition comes along with the beginning of the institution of the temple in the history of Judaism.
The exhibit looks at the concept of the temple, from the Mishkan, the tabernacle that the people of Israel had in the desert on their way from Egypt, through the times of the two magnificent holy temples in Jerusalem, and concluding with the present dream of the rebuilding of the third temple.
When the real temple was destroyed, then the institution of the temple became an ideal. It became a vision. And that's the reason why the English title of the exhibition is Envisioning the Temple.
In the exhibit, there are archaeological finds, especially from the time of the Second Temple, unique segments from the Dead Sea Scrolls, and Judaic articles that express the centrality of the temple in the life of the Jewish nation throughout the centuries.
Right from the moment when the infant was born, up to the moment that a Jew died, actually along all his life, he came in touch with the concept of temple.
The exhibit is enjoyable and educational.
The temple was such an important and central institution for our people. And the fact that we never forgot about it, even till today. We think about it. Here it is. I mean, we don't have the temple, but it is in our minds, in our whole being.
The inspiration is being in Jerusalem, first of all. Secondly, being at the Israel Museum, you get a really good introspective into how people lived during the temple time, and it's a big loss. So Tisha B'Av is something that we should feel through the living experience of the temple.
The exhibition will be on for a year, so you have a lot of time to come, visit, and learn. Now, here in the Kotel, there are people throughout the day, throughout the year, all the time, coming to visit and be inspired by this special place. I spoke to some of these people.
Coming to the Kotel before Tisha B'Av really makes me think about the whole destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, and it really makes me think back, and it gives me that feeling like I was there, like we all were there, and it touches the heart a lot more like that.
Emotions are very strong. It's happiness, but it's a happiness that makes you cry, and you feel like there's so many emotions coming out.
It really brings my heart close to God.
The feeling is that this is a very hard day, these 3 weeks before Tisha B'Av.
We come here, we pray here. This is our closest place that we can pray to God. and we hope that that's where our tefillot are makabel.
I'm very happy to be here. I actually made Aliyah 3 days ago, so it's my first visit here since I came.
Okay, I'm going to the army tomorrow 8 p.m. I got 15 hours until the army. So I think it's important that us all, four of us are going to the army. So we started to, it's important that we're going to know about what we're fighting off.
Well, it's a great feeling. It's something that you can't explain. If you come here and you feel the spirit, it's something unbelievable.
In our days, with all the high-tech and multimedia, for some people it's not enough to see the excavations and the scriptures which are left from the time of the temple. Some people need a more interactive experience. Now, what is more interactive than virtual reality?
In contrast to the halls and corridors of museums, the Davidson Center is located inside an authentic archaeological excavation. The center is part of the southern western wall excavations. At the site, visitors descend into the excavation, view Herodian Jerusalem from above, get a close look at ancient ceramics, and watch a short educational film. But the exclusive and unique part of this visit is farther inside the excavation. Computer programmers and graphic artists developed a three-dimensional computer model of the Second Temple. After the visitors watch a special movie about a pilgrim on his visit to the Holy Temple, they are taken by a guide on a three-dimensional tour of the Holy Temple.
We
enter through the gates, see the Holy Temple with all its glory, walk through the royal portico, and visit the market where people bought their sacrifices.
I learned a lot about the Beit HaMikdash and the Mishkan.
I learned a lot about things that I've read about in the Chumash that sort of all came together today.
For now, unfortunately, the visit to the temple can be only virtual.
On the Temple Mount, prepared and sanctified. I can almost hear his heart pounding.
You've probably noticed that this show is not exactly like any other of our shows. There's no music, no musical instruments throughout the show. I'm not shaved. These are just some of the rituals of the days before the fast of Tisha B'Av. I'm joined now by Rabbi Samson from his office in Jerusalem, who will explain to us why we have all these interesting rituals. Shalom, Rabbi Samson.
Shalom, Yoni, and shalom again to all of our watchers and listeners around the world. The question is supposed to be the other way around. How is it that we allow ourselves not to mourn the rest of the year? And that it's something that today, it seems very far out of our reachings, the temple and everything that went on in the temple. But you have to realize that it's a completely different ballgame. The world with the temple is a different world than the world without the temple. And I'll give you an example. For instance, excuse me if it's a little morbid, but if someone only recognizes a cadaver, he'll never realize that a cadaver could be alive. And someone is saying, well, what are we mourning here? The cadaver is all here. It has a nose and an ears and eyes. However, the soul is missing. That is the situation of the Jewish people today. And that even though we have people, and we even have begun to return to our land, and we have precepts and negative precepts, nevertheless, the soul is missing. And it's like a Jewish nation that doesn't have divine providence. And the Jewish people without God is like a cadaver without a soul. This is what we're mourning, and it's amazing that we do it for only 9 days or 3 weeks and not every night of our lives. The mourning process is basically composed of basic mourning customs. For instance, we don't take haircuts. That's already for 3 weeks. We don't take haircuts. We don't participate in marriage ceremonies, also for the entire 3-week period. And we limit the amount of singing and dancing that we're doing, things that are obviously anti-mourning concepts. When we begin the 9 days, according to the Ashkenazi community, or the week of Tisha B'Av, according to the Sephardic community, here we add to those prohibitions also the prohibition of eating meat. I have a feeling that the reason why we don't eat meat is because ice cream wasn't invented when the rabbis made the edict. And that I have a feeling that if ice cream was around, they would have probably prohibited eating ice cream. And the idea is that we don't eat meat and we don't drink wine, to have a very simple diet until it comes the day before Tisha B'Av, and it's recommended not only not to have meat and wine, but to eat as simple a meal as possible, and to just have bread and water the day before Tisha B'Av. Some have a custom of having an egg with ashes, and they actually eat the ashes with an egg sitting on the floor in a state of mourning until we come to the day of Tisha B'Av itself, where we do not eat, we do not drink, we do not have intimate relations, we do not even wear shoes, we do not libate ourselves with oil, and of course we don't wash ourselves and take showers. All of these are the different aspects of mourning, so that one day of our lives we'll really feel what it means not to have the temple. I have to end with a wish. I hope, Yoni, that we won't have Tisha B'Av, and that last Tisha B'Av will be the last Tisha B'Av that the Jewish people will ever have mourned.
Thank you very much, Rabbi Samson. Next week, Thursday, will be, as we said, Tisha B'Av, so we won't have any Israeli Salad edition then, so we'll see you again in 2 weeks. But as I said, hopefully we believe that this year on Tisha B'Av we'll be singing and dancing in Jerusalem on the way to the rebuilt Holy Temple. Israeli Salad will be sure to be there. Until then, from all of us in Israel National News, Shabbat Shalom. And as we say, may you not have only a Tzom Kal, an easy fast, but also a Tzom Mo'il, an effective fast. And may Hashem hear and answer all our prayers. Shabbat Shalom.